Federal High Court sitting in Kano has nullified the reappointment of Sanusi as the 16th Emir of Kano based on disobedience of an earlier court order. The court, however, upheld the validity of the repealed Kano Emirates Law 2024, but declared that all actions carried out after the passage of the law were null and void. The judge held that the defendants were aware of an interim order previously granted by the court, but ignored it and implemented the law. The court also granted a stay of execution pending the hearing and determination of related case and jurisdiction at the Court of Appeal.
The court has nullified all steps taken after the order it made, and that those steps were taken in breach of the court order, and that is all. Subsequently, the court has granted stay of proceedings. Since this matter is before the Court of Appeal, no court can take any further steps until the Court of Appeal determines the case at the appeal before it on the issue of jurisdiction.
Okay.
So even the matter transferred to Court 2, the Court 2 cannot, that court cannot take any further step until the result of the outcome of the Court of Appeal. Okay. So the matter is now before the Court of Appeal. This is not the end of the matter. Okay. The order nullifying all steps taken subsequent to this portion of this amendment law is been nullified.
There are two rulings. One, clearly the judge has stated the proceeding of the case pending the outcome of our appeal, that it was pending before the Court of Appeal. The second ruling is concerning the application made by the claimant, or the plaintiff, I can say, that he wants this court to declare the law passed, legitimately passed by the State House of Assembly, that is Kano State House of Assembly, that is the second respondent, null and void. But this court clearly stated in its ruling that he doesn't have the wherewithal, the jurisdiction and the power to declare a law that's passed legitimately by the State House of Assembly. But he came to the conclusion and agreed that though the attitude of the first and the fourth defendants, that is the Kano State government and the Attorney General of Kano State, they are in disobedience of court order that was issued. That was the interim injunction that was earlier issued on 23rd day of May 2024.
I came to the Federal High Court. You had the ruling of this court. My prayer was granted. You can't remove an emir just like that because you are the governor or you are whoever you are. You must follow due process. I'm happy with what the court has done. That is the last hope of all the common man.
Dr. Abati, Kano?
Okay, Kano presents a very interesting case. There's an abracadabra going on out there. As a very sound student of adjective law, students of law will know the difference, what that means. This is my own opinion. I think what Justice Abdullahi Liman has done, is to give a confusing ruling which does not offer enough clarity, creating what you can call an abracadabra. Okay, in my view, the learned judge said something about, what did he call it, status quo. But he did not define the status quo. What exactly in the Kano chieftaincy matter constitutes status quo at this moment? He did not clarify it. Is it status quo in terms of the situation before the state government decided to install Lamido Sanusi as emir, or status quo after? If I will offer any advice, if you go to law faculty, every question they will say, this problem has occurred, give an advice. A trained lawyer is to give an advice. I will advise the Adobayoro camp to immediately approach the Court of Appeal to ask for the interpretation of what Justice Liman meant by status quo. What is the status quo in this matter? We do not know it. That's number 1 point. Number 2 point, Justice Liman on one hand upheld the repeal of the Kano State Council bill Emirates Council bill. Okay, yes. What he has done in that regard is, it makes sense, in my view. I may be wrong, and I stand to be corrected. Because what he has simply done is to say, where the Legislative Assembly, the House of Assembly of Kano State, has his own powers to make laws. Those powers are guaranteed under Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution. So having repealed the law, he says the law stands. Now, where is the problematic point in Kano? In my view, if the House of Assembly says it has repealed this law, the onus is on the Kano State government, and now come to the Kano State government, to follow due process. The Assembly has appealed the enabling law, but it will appear, in my view, that the Kano State government acted in haste. Within 24 hours, the governor has given his assent. The governor of Kano State did not follow due process. This is my opinion. Following due process will be that, yes, you can remove the Emir, but you have to follow due process. The Kingmakers Council, or what do they call it in Kano, Emirates Council, they also have to sit. They have to be part of the process. It didn't follow through. So you now created a situation whereby you have some people who are Kano stakeholders also saying, oh, we are not part of this and all of that. Now, what Ganduje did, repealed the Emirates Council law, chieftaincy law, and then made Bayero the Emir. Now, for you to repeal that, you follow due process and also ensure. I think that that is the major thing in Justice Abdullahi Liman's point, that due process was not followed. Beyond that, Justice Liman was also saying that the interim order that had been given by the State High Court was not also followed. And he was saying that nobody can ignore the ruling of the court. Okay, yeah, that's basic law. If a court already gives an order, then you follow it. So these are the issues. But Justice Lima, I think, with very due respect, erred in not defining what status quo represents in this matter. Now, the Kano State government has taken a mischievous interpretation of the law. You can take the literal rule, you can take the golden rule, you can take the mischief rule. The position that the Kano State government has taken is a mischief rule. And now they have said, no, we are going to demolish the lower palace, the second palace, the Nasarawa palace, because we had even been thinking of renovation. Now, in what context are they thinking of that renovation? Why the coincidence? Why the mischief? They are doing this in the context of the ruling by Justice Abdullahi Liman. So they have a very delicate situation in Kano, which is not just legalistic. It is also about rule of law. It's about due process. It's also about the personalities that are involved. However, the other substantive issue is about jurisdiction. And Justice Abdullahi Liman said, well, he's going to the Court of Appeal. That matter is already in the Court of Appeal. He's moving that matter to the Court of Appeal. Well, I've said again and again on this program that jurisdiction is at the very heart of any judicial process. It's the same issue that can be brought up at any point. But because that issue is already at the Court of Appeal, it will be sub judice for me to comment on it. So I will not comment on jurisdiction at this point because it's already part of the matter and it's at the Court of Appeal. So we just watch the drama in in Kano State. But if I will advise the Kano State government free of charge, what they can do is, with Justice Liman's court upholding the repeal of the chieftaincy law, the Emirates Council law, what they should do now is just go back, simply activate due process and pronounce Lamido Sanusi as the Emir of Kano. Just simple process. They can just do that within the next 2 days, and then the matter will be settled. And it will have no effect whatsoever what the Court of Justice Liman said. They just need to just reorganize, follow due process. As for the other side, Bayero, okay, they can go to court. I don't know who's going to go first to go and ask, what does status quo means? What does it mean? Because Justice Liman was not very clear about the meaning of status quo. Milord, well, I don't mean to embarrass you, just looking at Ajetaba law in that regard.
Based on the judgment of Justice Lima, we can talk everything about confusion, yam, pepper, scatter, like I quoted Jaguar yesterday. But based on Justice Liman's judgment, Sanusi Lamido is Emir of Kano, based on his judgment, pure and simple, because he upheld the law that brought in Sanusi Lamido. Like we say here, you can't build nothing on nothing. The law that made Sanusi Lamido Emir is contingent upon the repeal law by the House in Kano. Based on that, I don't think there's any controversy. They've upheld Lamido Sanusi as Emir of Kano, pure and simple. The other part of the confusion is the other pronouncement about nullity of process. The argument some people are making, in fact, the Kano State government released the message as regards that, is the fact that the judge claimed that when they served them that stay of execution, that it was served on that day before the action was taken. But the Kano State government claimed that they had concluded the action and they didn't get the official stay of execution until the 27th, and the action was concluded on the 24th. So there's that back and forth. Hence the judge giving a pronouncement on them being, acting disobedient to the initial stay of execution. But let's also forget the fact that the Kano State Assembly has also taken this matter to a court of higher jurisdiction. And I think this was the argument Mr. Falano enunciated yesterday night on prime time by saying since this has gotten up to the appeal court, a court of higher jurisdiction than the Federal High Court sitting in Kano, it should have been left at that. And also, some people have also even cited the point that, but Justice Lima is already in transition of this, because Justice Lima to also acknowledge the fact that he's in transition, then he handed over the case to another judge after the pronouncement on ruling. So the debacle in Kano continues. The only part I would like to say is I'm not in support of demolishing government property because of political expediency like the governor and the state wants to do now, and they say they want to renovate the fence. Please no. They must still look for an internal way to settle this. Go through the court process. Let this matter go high up there as much as it can. But the substantive issue here is a chieftaincy matter which has to do, with the laws that were repealed. The case has moved off now to the appeal court. Let's see how all of that pans out. But also, I think this is a clarion call on our judiciary, because we will never forget the role of lawyers and our judiciary in all of this, where we have many suits and counter-suits and court orders. We can't forget the one filed by the state court, high court. We can't forget the one filed by the federal high court. And the case keeps going back and forth. So many stay of executions. Why can't our judiciary come together as one house to dispense justice the way it has to be dispensed? Why the confusion? Why the case of a lot of forum shopping here and there? So these are the questions. So it has brought forward another conundrum in Kano as we speak. And this is the dilemma we face in our country. I'm going to give you a poser. Are we going to face the same dilemma today in Rivers? Because it's 2 days back to back of judgments. Rivers. Is this how we are going to be wrapping our head around the confusion again? Only time will tell. I think we've said this for one too many times. Our judiciaries, my lords, you know better. You should step up and dispense justice effectively. Justice is supposed to be clarity, not back and forth, and not leading confusions here and there.
No, before that,
Yeah.
I'll make a point. I insist that the Kano State government's interpretation of the ruling of Justice Abdullahi Leman is mischievous. I made the point. There's literal rule, there's golden rule, there's a mischief rule in law. Their interpretation is mischievous. So going to demolish the smaller palace, there's mischief involved. So there's uncertainty established, with due respect, by Justice Leman. There is also the mischief that every party involved is trying to put into the matter in Kano.
Okay.
But let's hope it will be resolved.